Well, this didn't take very long to break. Jeez, I know I'm a reviewer, but come on. You're just gonna hand it to me? Make it so easy for me? Oh, it's gonna be one of those. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, I am SocioPsycho, and today I'm going to bring you Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Now, this was created by Nina Fury for PC, ported over from PS3, put out about last year, and it claims itself to be a action-adventure game. Now, the port since last year did not go over too well, and some changes have been made since then, but there's still a lot of issues in the game. The mouse control in the game does not register well at all. When you slide over your mouse onto an object, if you're even able to click on it, which most of the time you're not, it won't actually register that you're trying to click on an object unless you're above it. The correlation of where your mouse is and where it wants you to click is completely off. So if you're trying to click on an item in the middle of a selection, you're not going to by mouse. Part of it's like, what's the point of having a mouse even on these front pages where I can just do everything by controls? They went half-assed with it. Now, in the control options, you have some choices, but the way the mouse sensitivity is in the game, it's just crazy. We'll talk about it more in-game so I can show you visualizations. And you have your controller config, obviously for keyboard and controller. Because of the way the system is, rebinding keys has been a complete pain in the ass. Let's escape here, show you some of the audio options. Now, it's nice that they have subtitles and effects and music. They have some good soundtracks in this game, but they don't play it in the game all that well, if they play it at all. And the effects volume, you know, it's not anything all that amazing, but it's not anything bad. Display options. For a port coming over, it took them a while, but eventually they added some stuff actually in the menu. This was an issue for them for a while. The way the game actually handles kind of destroys the graphic fidelity of the game. It's not a bad looking game, and it actually, the voice acting in the game is really professional. The way the graphics look is really nice, but they mess up the whole aesthetic of the game, and the graphics and how it handles, it just does not help the cause at all. And we'll go into why when we get into the game. But they did manage to fix, and the game is running at 60 frames per second, and I haven't had any issues in dropping. Now, one thing I want to point out in this game is the fact that when you're actually in the game and you want to go to the options menu, one of the issues that I've found is that when you want to check your key bindings or you want to rebind a key or something, you have to go all the way back out to the main menu. So lose all your progress where you are because it saves by chapters and checkpoints rather than allowing you to quick save or anything like that. This game claims itself to be an action-adventure game, and that is just preposterous in so many ways, because the adventure part, if they said exploration, I'd say, okay, even though it's on a linear path, I can definitely see some exploration possibilities, because I'm exploring different rooms. It doesn't have any elements of adventure, because you're not trying to piece puzzles together, you're not trying to find ways and routes through things. The game is very linear, so you don't need to try to find your way through a pathway because there's only one path to take. So there is no adventure aspect. And when it comes to action, you think a game like this would actually be, you know, well, how can you disagree with the fact that it's action and the fact that they focus so much time on the exploration? And this game is literally a Tarzan simulation. It's not an actual adventure action game. It's a Tarzan simulation. And even dialogue in the game pushes that forward. It's ridiculous.
I grew up in the wilds, alone.
Well, what do other people call you then?
Monkey. In the communities I trade with, some of them call me Monkey. If you want to give me a name, you can use that.
Okay. Monkey.
80%, I feel safe to say, 80% of the gameplay that I've experienced in 5 hours has been jumping around, hopping to ledge to ledge to ledge, but not in a platformer way because I cannot fail, I cannot die, I cannot lose and fall off a ledge. Everything is so linear and predetermined for me about where I step, how I jump, that you cannot fail. Majority of the game is you literally walking beam to beam, holding down a button and pressing space and watching an animation. Hold down a button, press space, again, watch an animation. it is so very annoying and frustrating that the majority of your game is just watching your character do animations. This put onto a fact that when you do come across combat, the camera rotation, the way the game actually plays, is just laughable. It is so all over the place. This combined with the fact that when you actually do get into combat, which is really only about 10% of the game, so 80% of the game you're running around being Tarzan Simulator, another 10% you're watching cutscenes and dialogue, and then another 10% you actually have combat. 10% of the game is actually combat. I mean, that's not right. And when the combat does happen, the way the mouse controls are, the camera makes it just a mess. You have to sit back and kind of just ride it out like a wave, as if you were a surfer or on a ship in a storm, because you know there's nothing you can do, and the more you move your mouse to try and make it better, it's only going to get worse. You have to ride it out and accept it for what it is. And the fact that it is horrible doesn't make that any better. Graphically, the game looks fantastic. Now, it does get annoying with the fact that majority of the game you are staring at a bare naked chest muscle bound idiot, and while some people may enjoy that aesthetic, and that's perfectly fine, if you want to watch a sweaty muscle guy jump around all day with a very low IQ, that's perfectly fine. But that's not exactly entertaining for, I would assume, majority of us. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I felt more as if I was watching softcore porn, because the majority of this game is watching a character do animations rather than actually playing a game. Oh, he's jumping here. Oh, he's moving there. Oh, it's dialogue. It's showing my body. It's showing his muscles. It's showing him from different angles. It's like whoever decided to really go ahead with this is struggling with their own sexuality, and they're like, you know what? I want to present and caress over this character's body in every angle and show off every facet and every muscle because he's beautiful and I love him. And you know what? Whatever, but I don't get off on playing a game and majority of the time just staring at a guy flexing his muscles. It's not for me. The few times you do actually run into combat, the fact is it's not difficult at all. When we actually go into the combat menu, the leveling up capability, you have very limited choices upon what you can do. Now you would think that, well, maybe this game has some sort of combo system where you have to combine different attacks and have different attack methods, and it's really not. You simply just press one mouse button, you can dodge roll, and you block. And you can press F for a sort of special attack finisher. Now, the combat actually has a lot of weight behind it, and it does feel good. It doesn't feel so good that it can make the game actually playable. The game suffers through so many bad things in aesthetic, atmosphere, and story. The fact that the combat feels slightly decent is only ruined by how little there is of it and how much it's annoying when the camera does go all crazy. When you go into the option to upgrade your abilities, which you do get orbs, you gather orbs throughout the levels, which give you a little increase in number. Those numbers, experience, you can then put into upgrading your abilities. Now, it's a while before you actually get to upgrade your abilities at all, a good hour or so into the game, maybe more, before you even have that first option. There is choices in about how you upgrade either your shields, your health, your attacks, but it's all passive damage. It doesn't add any new combos, it doesn't add any new special abilities or animations. It's just these are increases upon what you already have. The combat system is actually very lackluster. You don't have too much options or availability to create a character that you want to. Now, this tied into the fact that you really have no connection with a character because, like I said, I can't speak for everybody. I would assume that not everybody who plays the game is able to relate with this sort of character who is very low in IQ, very beefy, and just sounds like a complete idiot. Now, if you can relate with that character, congratulations. But I question how you even found this video because typing must be very difficult for you in between your IQ and your sausage fingers. The story and how it progresses onwards only continues to enhance this world of you are Tarzan, this is Jane, Jane needs saving, bad things happen, you'd be good and safe. You carry her around, you walk like a monkey, you walk like a Neanderthal. You don't feel like your character is actually progressing in a way. The continuational story and how it progresses seems like it's really trying to force a connection between these two characters. If you're a female, you're definitely not going to want to get this game. I cannot see females really enjoying this game if they have any self-respect. Because playing as a big, strong man who has to carry around and save the helpless, weak woman, for me, is not an idealistic character play, and I can assume that for women watching, you could agree. The game does not do enough to actually enhance the player into the world. The movements of the game, how you interact, and the combat are nothing that is impressive. Very few games can I actually be so frustrated with than I am with this one. You do not have any choices into the actual game. The game, yes, is very linear, and if the combat is good enough, if the story is strong enough, if you have other aspects of the game that are powerful enough, you can get by a linear story. But the fact that this game has one or two options here and there which would allow more acceptable for, okay, well, this is the path I have to go, I get it, but can I do this or can I do that? And the fact that it doesn't allow you to be able to do any of those is where it really drops the ball. And here's a prime example. We're here in a minefield and we have plenty of mines. But the fact is that if you manage to trip one of these mines, it just continues to stay there. I mean, it will kill you instantly, but if you get a robot into it, a mine will blow up and the robot will die, the mine doesn't disappear. It's so arbitrary in how it wants you to walk the game that it will not even give you the option or the choice via your creativity. The first mechanized turret you come across, you cannot damage and you cannot kill. Later on, they say, oh, well, now you have the ability, but I didn't learn it or anything else. It's just an in-game mechanic which they give to you later on to rip off and damage the machine and ride it like a turret. But the first one you come across, you have to defeat in a specific way. The fact that it doesn't give you a choice of, well, defeat it in this specific way, but if you actually go up to it and try to destroy it, you might see an option here to do that. Kick it into a mine, turn it into a turret by the same way you do later on in the game. But it doesn't do that. The fact that it's creativity in how it wants to micromanage the player, instead of letting the player actually enjoy the game the way they want to, is what hurts it. You make your game, you make your level, and you make your level design linear in a straight pathway, and that's your choice. But when you completely just destroy my ability to either connect with a character or interact with the world, that is where it really hurts. And when 80% of the game is platforming, which I have no control over, or no failure state, because all I have to do is hold down either WAD for which angle I want to jump and just press spacebar. All I have to do is just continuously tap spacebar and just hit the direction I believe the button would be correct. Forward, left, right. The fact that there's no failure in this means that there's no choice of where to go and there's no option of how I play. When I'm not given the availability to actually interact with my character, interact with the story, or interact with the world, this does not make a game. This is a failure of a game because it feels like it's trying to be a movie or a tour. Like, congratulations, you've come to our world. Let me take you on this grand tour and show you everything in this, but please do not touch or do not try to interact with the world because I am going to set you on the rails and you will be fine. The very difference between a game and a movie is the fact that a game is interactive. Your choices in how you represent and what you do in the world can be different every time. When you take away the availability to play a different way, make a different choice by either jumping somewhere, moving somewhere, or talking somewhere, you do not have a game anymore. When every movement you take is predefined, when every jump you take is already scripted, and you cannot fail, everything you do just requires you to press one button, you do not have a game. When there is no failure, that only solidifies the fact that I am trying to be shown something rather to be entertained and make it feel as if it's mine. I don't play PS3, I play PC. I'm a PC gamer and this channel is for PC games. This is a port. But the fact that there is so much limitation, and it doesn't have to be. While PS3 games or console games in general have a lot less capability in what we're able to offer in regards to a PC, doesn't mean that the game has to be the same way. And the fact that pretty much all the console games look and feel the same way is a failure on that part, because when you port it over to a PC, it just becomes usually just disgusting. It doesn't handle correctly, it doesn't play correctly, and the only thing you need to do is just add choice. And I think that's really the fundamental issue. They're trying to make everything so interactive and so movie-like, instead of actually just respecting the person playing the game, instead of being like, okay, well, we see you in this world, we want to give you options, we want to give you choices that really do not take all that much of a difficult role in the development, even if it can be tiny, tiny little things to make you sort of feel. They don't do it. Now, this is not universal to all games, I'm sure. I'm sure there are some console games which are actually decent, and a few which are decent ports, but this is not that. This is not one of those. This game is a disgrace to PC games. Even if it is a port, it's on PC now. So, in the end of the day, what I really have to say about this game is, if you are wanting to develop a game and you need an idea of what not to do, this would be a good game to play. And if you want to play a game where you always wanted to be Tarzan, ever since growing up and seeing the Disney movies, you're like, I want to be Tarzan. Please make me Tarzan. This is the game for you then. You'll have no control, no responsibility, and really no failure. And you can just hop around and climb stuff and jump over things and watch your character be a muscly acrobat with really no consequence. This game is one that you either laugh at or you just cry. And as a reviewer, I'm trying to be fair. I really am. But there's nothing to be fair about. The way it handles is horrible. The way it looks is decent. The way the combat is, yeah, the combat is, sort of heavy. It sort of feels good, but there's next to none of it. The combat you do have is completely on rails, and there's no depth to the combat system. Like I said earlier, you cannot have multiple combos, you cannot have different attack patterns. It's very limited in what you can do. You have about 2 attacks and a block and a dodge. That's it. Exploration is non-existent because it is a linear path. The camera angle of how you move is just frustrating at best. You do not play this game with the intention of this will be fun, because the entire time you are fighting against the system. Even if you go with the flow of the system, it's just so frustrating. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been SocioPsycho, and I would like to say it's been my pleasure bringing you this review, but this game has been so annoying to play. If this helps at least just one person not pick up this game in the future, then I certainly do hope it was worth it, because this has been one giant headache. I'll see you next time.